It was a hot Wednesday afternoon in Benin City. The sun was angry and power had gone since morning. James was sitting outside a small pharmacy near Stadium Road, waiting for his turn to buy malaria drugs. He was sweating and wiping his face with his handkerchief when she walked in. Her name was Sandra. She wore a clean white nurse uniform, and her skin looked like smooth cocoa. She had a confident walk and carried herself like someone who knew her worth. James couldn't stop staring. After a few minutes, she came out holding some medicine. Their eyes met. She smiled. He smiled back. She came closer. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You look like you need water." James chuckled. "I need more than water. I need your name." Sandra laughed. It was a soft laugh, like a song in the evening breeze. "My name is Sandra," she said. "And you?" "James," he replied. "Can I get your number?" Sandra looked at him for a few seconds, as if studying his soul. Then she opened her small handbag, brought out a pen, and wrote her number on a piece of paper. "Don't call me too late at night," she said. "I work early shifts." From that day, James's heart began to beat a different rhythm. They started talking every day. Morning calls, afternoon chats, night messages. James felt like he had found something precious. Something different. Sandra told him she worked at a private clinic not too far from where James stayed. She was always neat, always smelling good. She would send him voice notes, sometimes sweet, sometimes flirty. James was lost in it. 3 weeks later, they met again at a quiet bar near GRA. James had shaved his beards and wore his best shirt. Sandra came in a red gown that made her look like someone out of a music video. They talked, laughed, and held hands. She told him about her dreams. She wanted to open her own clinic one day. She liked calm men. She said she had made mistakes in the past, but was now focused on her future. James didn't care about her past. She was beautiful, gentle, ambitious. He told himself, every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future. By the end of the month, he asked her to be his girlfriend. Sandra smiled. "James, are you sure?" "Yes. I've never been more sure." She leaned closer and whispered, "Then I'm yours." James walked home that night as if his feet were not touching the ground. He couldn't wait to tell his friends. He didn't know that the same people who would hear his joy would also warn him not to marry this same woman. The next Saturday, the sky was calm and the air was cool. James was excited. He had planned a small hangout with his two closest friends, Michael and David, at a popular joint near Sapele Road. He told them he had something important to show them. He didn't tell them it was about a woman. By 5 p.m., the place was already bubbling with music and the smell of roasted fish. James came early, found a good spot under a big umbrella, and ordered drinks. Sandra arrived not long after. She wore black jeans and a white top. Her makeup was simple but perfect. Heads turned when she walked in. James stood up and gave her a warm hug. "You look beautiful," he said, smiling from ear to ear. "Thank you, babe," she replied sweetly. By the time Michael and David arrived, Sandra was already sitting with James, laughing and sipping her drink. The moment they saw her, their smiles froze. They both looked at each other without saying a word. "Guys, meet Sandra," James said proudly. "The lady I've been telling you about." Sandra smiled and waved. "Nice to meet you." Michael and David shook her hand, but their eyes were saying something else. They all sat, drank, and talked. But the mood had changed. Michael kept glancing at David, and David was quiet throughout. Sandra seemed to notice and excused herself to go to the restroom. Immediately she left. Michael leaned forward and spoke in a low voice. "James, nawa for you. Is this the Sandra you're dating?" James frowned. What do you mean? David sighed. James, this girl. We know her. Everyone in our area knows her. She's not who you think she is. What are you talking about? James asked, his voice rising slightly. Michael looked serious now. Sandra is popular in our area for the wrong reasons. She used to follow rich married men. She was even caught fighting another lady over one sugar daddy. We're not telling you this to destroy your happiness. We're your friends. James shook his head. People change. That was her past. She told me about some mistakes, but she's not like that anymore. David looked at James with concern. You just met her, James. You don't know her. This kind of woman can scatter your life. You want to marry her? Yes, James replied firmly. I love her, and she loves me too. Michael rubbed his forehead. Love is not enough, my guy. You can love the wrong person and regret it forever. Before they could say more, Sandra returned and sat down, smiling as if nothing had happened. But the mood was already broken. James forced a smile and held her hand. After the outing, as James walked her to get a taxi, Sandra looked into his eyes and asked, What were your friends telling you? James hesitated, but then said, They said some things about your past, but I told them it doesn't matter. I trust you. Sandra's eyes filled with tears. James, I've made mistakes, but I'm not that girl anymore. I've changed. If you can't trust me, then I don't know what else to say. James wiped her tears and hugged her. I believe in you, Sandra. Let the past stay in the past. As she entered the taxi and waved goodbye, James felt torn. His heart was full of love, but his friend's words kept ringing in his ears. That night, Michael sent him a message. We've done our part. The rest is your decision. But remember, not all that glitters is gold. James read the message, then deleted it. He had made up his mind. The wedding was small but beautiful. James wore a sharp navy blue suit, and Sandra looked like an angel in her white gown. It was held at a modest church in the heart of Benin, and even though not everyone smiled with pure hearts, the couple smiled enough for everyone. James's parents were happy. They had only met Sandra twice, but she was polite and respectful. His mother whispered to him on the wedding morning, If she makes you happy, that's all that matters. His friends, Michael and David, came for the wedding. They didn't say much. They shook hands, ate rice, took pictures, and left early. James noticed the silence, but he told himself, they will come around with time. The first few months of marriage were sweet. Sandra cooked his favorite meals, washed his clothes, and made their small apartment feel like home. She would wait for him after work with a smile, back massages, and warm food. James started to believe he had made the best decision of his life. See what they almost made me miss, he would often say to himself when she served him hot ogbono soup with fresh pounded yam. They went to church together, took pictures together, even opened a small savings account for future family plans. James began calling her my queen. Every evening, they would sit outside, gist, and laugh about everything. But as time passed, things slowly began to change. Sandra's phone started ringing at odd hours. Sometimes, she would step out to take calls and return with strange excuses. Once, James asked, Who was that? She smiled and said, Just my former classmate. He wants to open a clinic and needed advice. Another time, James found an expensive wristwatch under the car seat. He had never seen it before. Whose watch is this? He asked. Sandra looked confused. Oh, I think that's my cousin's. She borrowed the car last week. James nodded, but something didn't feel right. Then, her shifts at the hospital started getting longer. Sometimes, she would say she was on night duty, but James would call the hospital and be told she was not listed for that shift. He didn't say anything at first. He was trying to trust her. One Sunday afternoon, as he was doing laundry, Sandra's second phone, one he didn't even know she had, buzzed in her handbag. He checked the screen. "Baby, I miss you. When will I see you again?" James froze. He felt like someone poured cold water on his chest. His hands shook as he opened more messages. There were chats with different men, flirty texts, pictures, even receipts of money transfers. That evening, he didn't confront her. He sat in silence as Sandra served him food, smiling and chatting as if nothing was wrong. But that night, he couldn't sleep. The next morning, he followed her. She said she was going to the clinic for a quick meeting. Instead, she drove to a hotel in GRA. James waited outside in his car. After 2 hours, she came out with a well-dressed older man. They hugged, kissed. James drove off. He couldn't watch anymore. When she came home that night, he was sitting on the couch, staring at the wall. "Where were you today?" he asked quietly. She hesitated. "The clinic. I told you." James nodded slowly. "I followed you." Silence filled the room like smoke. Sandra dropped her bag. Her lips trembled. "James, I can explain." But James stood up and walked into the bedroom, locking the door behind him. The dream was cracking. The love he fought for was dripping through his fingers. And the worst part? He still wanted to believe she would change. Days turned into weeks, and James barely spoke a word to Sandra. The silence in their home became louder than any argument. Sandra kept trying, cooking his favorite meals, kneeling to beg, sending long text messages even though they lived under the same roof. But James was broken in a place her apologies could not reach. He had loved deeply, fought hard, ignored warnings, and now he was walking through the ashes of his own fire. But it wasn't just the betrayal that burned him. Something else had been haunting him, something unspoken between them. It had been 2 years of marriage, and still no child. At first, James thought it was stress or timing. But now, with the truth of her secret life out in the open, a dark thought crept in. Could it be something more? One day, James decided to act. He quietly booked an appointment with their family doctor, Dr. Felix, a calm and elderly man who had been seeing both of them since they got married. "I need to know," James said. "Can Sandra still have children?" Dr. Felix leaned back, looking troubled. "James, are you sure you want to know this?" "I need to," James replied. The doctor sighed and opened a file. "About a year ago, Sandra came to see me. She was having complications from something she did in the past. Multiple abortions, dangerous pills, injections. Her womb is damaged, James. Severely. I didn't know she hadn't told you." James's heart dropped. "She can't conceive naturally. Not anymore. I advised her to tell you the truth and come together for options. But it seems she never did." James left the clinic that day without saying a word. He walked for hours under the hot sun, not caring about the sweat, the dust, or the noise around him. He just kept walking, hoping the pain would melt away with each step. That night, when he returned home, Sandra rushed to him. "James, please talk to me. Please." He sat down slowly. "You can't have children," he said, his voice calm, but cold. Sandra froze. Her lips moved, but no words came. "You lied to me. About your past, about your life, about everything." Tears rolled down Sandra's cheeks. "I was scared, James. I thought if I told you, you'd leave me." "You should have let me decide," he said. "You took away my right to choose. You took my love and played with it. You dragged me into your darkness without warning." Sandra knelt down, holding his feet, sobbing like a child. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you, James. I truly do. James looked down at her, his heart heavy. I loved you too, more than anyone else ever has. But love is not enough anymore. For the first time in 2 years, James slept in the guest room. The next morning, he packed a small bag and left the house. He didn't file for divorce immediately. He just needed to breathe, to think, to heal. Weeks passed, then months. James slowly rebuilt his life. He started attending church again, focused on his work, and began speaking with Michael and David more often. One day, David asked him, "Do you regret marrying her?" James sighed. "I regret not listening. I regret thinking I could fix someone who wasn't ready to be honest. But I've learned now, love must be built on truth, not beauty, not desire, not pity." As for Sandra, she eventually moved out of their house and returned to live with her elder sister. She sent James letters now and then, full of sorrow and repentance. But James never replied. He had forgiven her in his heart, but some wounds are not meant to be reopened. Not all advice is hate. Sometimes, those who love you see what your heart refuses to see. Love is not blind. It only becomes blind when you ignore the truth. What part touched you the most? Please share in the comments. A new story is coming soon. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it.